is the business itself franchisable? When we're looking at a franchisable business model, we start by asking questions about whether or not the business can be sold. So we look at successful prototype, credibility, differentiation, business sizzle, buyer appeal. Those are the kinds of questions that will tell us. When I'm looking at credibility, I'm looking at how many units do you have, how long you've been in business. Do you have a successful operating prototype? Do you have a credible management team? Have you put together a good team, in terms of how you're going to grow this business? And that's going to be real important in the sales process. The next thing we look for is, can we duplicate the success that we've had with our initial operation or operations? And that's going to be things like teachability. Can we transfer it from one market to the next? Is it a swimsuit store in Florida, or because if it is, maybe it's not going to do quite as well in Chicago. So we look at things like, are there systems in place? Are there established operations manuals and training programs? We want to make sure that all those things are there and are in place, so that at the end of the day, people will be able to duplicate what it is that we're doing here. Now, the next thing that we typically look at is we're looking at the return equation. And when we talk about the return equation, what we're talking about is return on investment. So what we look at first is affordability. The average new franchise investment today is between $150,000 and $250,000. But affordability is really not as big of a concern as you might think, because there's a lot of companies out there, hotel franchises, for example, with multi-million-dollar investments. So affordability is really relevant to only who is our prospective franchisee. And once we've determined that our prospective franchisee can afford it, then it becomes a question of what is the return, because ultimately that's going to dictate it. And what we look for typically is a 15% return on investment after deducting a royalty, and after making sure that anybody, if the franchisee is acting as a manager, that his salary is not included as well. So it's an after salary, after royalty, 15% return on investment, not return on sales. That's what we're looking for. I'll show you how to get to that in a second. And then the last few things that we typically look for in a franchise is market trends, capital, and management. What's happening out there in the marketplace? What is happening out there in terms of, are there trends that we need to know about right now that would maybe hurt a particular franchise program? So, is there a move toward, for example, I worked with one company some years ago that had some difficulty because the United States started to go casual, and they were formal wear franchise. They weren't able to roll out a franchise program because of the fact that the market trends were really working against them. The next thing, of course, is capital. Franchising is a low-cost means of getting into business, but it's not a no-cost means of getting into business. So it's important to make sure that from a capital standpoint that you go in there adequately capitalized. I'll talk more about it later, what's involved in that when you're going to get into a franchise. And then lastly, of course, is management. Now, good management solves capital problems. Good management solves problems of marketplace and changes in the marketplace. There's no cure for bad management. So it's real important that you put together a good team of people that are going to help you to grow this. A lot of times people will bootstrap franchising. They'll do it themselves at first, but you can't do it forever.
To see how we can help you with your franchising efforts, contact us at 708-957-2300 or visit us at www.ifranchisegroup.com.